I came up with a new show idea, Lubie. And it's going to be a show entitled Loan Shark Tank, where we have like 5 loan sharks on one side, and the people come in, these bust out degenerate gamblers come in, and they try to negotiate better terms on some kind of a loan and also secure the loan, even though their reputations may not match up with what would be considered spot on credit. And then you got some guy coming in there going, hey, listen, I'm looking for $600 at 2 points a week. I'm telling you, I'm going to pay you back. I know my reputation is not necessarily exemplary. And, then the loan sharks start picking them apart. It's like, well, what are you talking about, Joey? 2 points a week. That's laughable. It's 7 points a week just to talk to me. What do you think?
I think it'd be classic.
And you get the music going. The guy comes out. He's clearly in need of the money. And they get that dun, 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 dun. And you got some guy that looks like Vito. He's Mr. Wonderful's chair, and Mr. Wonderful's chair, and he's just looking at the guy like, what a watermelon.
I was gonna say you have to have at least one of the people or behind them, enforcers, at least either behind them or off to the side
with that face, that the enforcer always has. Like, let me at him. How about a little taste of pain?
The beginning of every episode, it's a guy that fucking didn't pay last week. So they have to send a message.
Shit beat out of him, yeah. He's in some trash can feeling himself out. Man, here's last week's deadbeat. What do you think? Did I get some money to produce this thing? Is somebody going to steal the idea? I was afraid to unveil it here on the show because I thought it was brilliant.
I think it's funny.
Loan Shark Tank.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
It was the talk of the media world yesterday, Lubie. I mentioned this to a few other people. I had launched a new project with our friends from nofilter.net, and I'm thinking maybe they can front me the production money that I need at 2 points a week. No one's giving 2 points a week anyway. What is that? That was a slip of the tongue that had no foundation in truth and fact whatsoever. May as well be Donald Trump up there talking to you guys saying, hey, you know what? I can get a loan at 2 points a week from a loan shark. Not happening, Donnie boy. Not happening. All right, good morning, everybody. Good to be with you here on this fine Tuesday. Lubie, how are you? I'm Jeff DeForest. That is one Mike Lubitz, hardest working man in show business, and does a tremendous job on everything, applies himself, beyond 100% on everything that he does.
That's me.
No, you do. I mean, it's good. It's a very, very noble and admirable characteristic, and it gives anybody that's working with you a little feeling of faith and comfort that no matter what, no matter how psychotic, no matter how much it seems that you're on the lunatic fringe, maybe not even the fringe. I think you're in the deep rough.
I'm in it.
You're in it, all right. I'm in it too, man. I'm in a mess. I have to admit to what happened to me last night, Lubie. It's embarrassing. It really is in terms of the old age syndrome. You don't want to admit it that you're getting old. 73 is a big number. I just saw where Mike Cubbage. Remember Mike Cubbage? He just checked out at 74. He was with the Mets for a brief period of time. Mike Cubbage. All these guys are checking out at a very relatively young age, at least compared to me. And you're thinking, man, my number's blinking on the board. That's for sure. Although I feel pretty good. That being said, I'm watching the Marlins game last night, and there was no Marlins game last night. well, here's where it got weird, and here's where I start to feel like maybe some counseling might be necessary, or somewhere in the near future might be advisable. All right, so I'm watching this game. Now, I know that the Marlins beat the Padres on Sunday, 7-6. I didn't see the hairy fashion in which it occurred. Did you see this?
No.
What is the guy's name? Propar or Prosper or something like that? He was in the All-Star game, yeah.
There's the guy Profar. Yeah, Profar.
Profar. All right, so he hits what appears to be a home run to tie the game in the ninth inning. The Padres have been coming back on the Marlins throughout the series over the weekend. I guess the first two games, Friday and Saturday games, they were down late in both ball games and came back and won in extra innings. And it would be typical. I mean, you can shrug it off with the Marlins right now. They're literally fielding a minor league team, not even high minors.
No.
Talking about like single A.
Yeah, it's like A.
some of these guys that they have out there, and yet they may be a better team than they were, which is kind of interesting. They just fired like a bunch of front office people too, Lubie. All of this going back to the Jeter Kim Eng era. That was just a quick flash on a crawl. I don't even know if they emphasize this. It might not have even crawled around the second time on ESPN, where you're watching this endless loop and saying, I've seen those scores 100 times already.
Yeah.
How about updating them, ESPN?
Exactly.
But they had announced on the crawl that they had fired 2 assistant general managers and a bunch of other people that were in the operations department of the Miami Marlins. And your reaction is what? Who the fuck cares, right? What difference does it make?
Sure, that'll save the day.
Total house cleansing by this William Bendix, Peter Bendix. And where is it going? Who knows? Probably nowhere. It struck me yesterday as I was watching with great interest the Houston game against the Tampa Bay Rays that, 2 empty ballparks. This was the Sunday game with the Marlins. And the Rays and the Astros. Here's the Astros. The Astros are in town in Tampa. You would think it was a pretty good rivalry, no? Tampa and the and the Rays, AL East, AL West. The Astros always a factor, have been for the last decade or so. Bring a bunch of stars in there, and nobody. Now we know that Tampa's attendance is abysmal at best, even though they're destined to get a new stadium. And the Marlins, who do have a relatively new ballpark, and that was a big issue in town for many, many years, whether or not that should be forthcoming. And, of course, clandestine deal done in the middle of the night with some attachés of cash exchanged. Got them, I think, the 3-2 vote they needed from the council or commission, whoever was presiding over this decision, and they ended up getting their ballpark. And it's a nice ballpark, and it would be great in another city probably. But here in Miami, it really doesn't make much of a difference. 2 empty ballparks. How baseball could be such a devout failure in terms of attracting interest in the state of Florida, it really amazes me because I keep going back to this thing. I'll never forget it. Where a friend of mine, when I was living on Long Island, and we were huge baseball fans, that's all we wanted to do was play baseball. Even though we played basketball, we played football. People even went out and skated on the Allegiant Street Canal and played hockey. I mean, we played every sport. I wasn't much of a hockey player because I couldn't skate, and so I was happy to skip that. But nonetheless, I remember a friend of mine named Bill Strong. He had to stay with like some relatives in Florida for a few months. Something happened with his parents, and he had to ship out for a while from Long Island. And we were so jealous that this guy was going to be able to play baseball year-round. It seemed to me like this would be the ideal place to develop baseball interest, and yet it couldn't be any further from the case. That being said, and here's where it gets hairy for me personally, Lubie. So I'm watching the Marlins and the Padres, and what happened with that Profar play is he hits the ball off the wall, all right, and it bounces off the top of the fence like kind of a foam padding that they had up there in right field, comes back into the park, but never lands on the ground, hits the glove of the right fielder, and goes back out of the park. Would that not be a home run?
Yes, everything about that's a home run.
They ruled it a ground rule double.
Double? Okay.
Yeah. Saying that the ball had come back in play and then was deflected out of the park. But, I don't know. Any baseball ruling that I've ever seen, you would think if the ball didn't hit the ground and it hit the wall and the guy pushed it out of the park, it's a home run, is it not? When the ball bounced off Canseco's head, was it not a home run?
I was just going to say Canseco's, the famous ball off of the top of his fucking hat going right out was automatically a home run. I don't get what's different here.
Why would that be a ground rule double? Somebody needs to explain that to me.
We can.
The explanation was accepted by the Padres manager, and the Padres really need the game. I mean, the Marlins are hopelessly out of it. We're still counting. I guess the countdown is on to see if they clip 79 victories. Seems like a virtual impossibility. I mean,
how many do they even have? How many games do they have left? And then
they have to play like a phenomenal, like a 70% win percentage the rest of the way to even get even to 79. So that turned out to be a pretty good piece of information and a season-long prop bet that we virtually had won from the outset of the campaign. That being said, so I'm watching a game, and I'm watching the Marlins play the Padres, thinking that they are playing the Padres, wondering why the Padres were still in town on a Monday. And at the same time, I'm watching the scoreboard, and the Padres are playing the Pittsburgh Pirates. And it took me a while to figure out that this was a replay, Lubie. That's not good. The Marlin game I'm watching wasn't happening. It was just a straight up replay of the previous day's game. That should have kicked in a lot sooner, shouldn't it, Lubie? I mean, should I not have realized that there was very little likelihood. Now it's possible. I mean, who's been keeping track? I don't know. How often do the Padres even come to town? Once, twice? That maybe they had a rain out earlier in the year, so they stayed over on Monday to play the game. But there was little reason to believe that I was actually watching a game. And then when it ended up at the same score as the Sunday game, that's when it finally hit me that, wait a minute. The Padres aren't playing some split squad game in the middle of the season where they sent half their team to Pittsburgh to play. They're not playing the Marlins right now. I'm watching a replay of the previous day's game. For that to take, 11 minutes to explain and almost an hour and a half of watching the game to realize, Lubie, would you not say that my mental state should come into question?
It's not great.
Thanks, Louie.
But the Marlins are at 44 wins. They need 35 just to push, and there's only 43 games left. They'd have to
Is
go
that right?
9. Yeah.
No, that can't be right. There's got to be like 50 something games left. No.
Okay, they played. Okay, they're 44 and 175. Right. All right. So 44 and 75. I'm sorry. 45 plus 75 is 119. 162 minus 119 is 43.
Wow. Do we have this clinched already?
Well,
Is that
in
what you're
August,
telling me?
Remember, we're in the middle of August. Like the season ends
44 and 75.
early to
Okay.
mid-September.
That's 120 games.
Yeah.
This is in the bag. What are we talking about?
I'm like, you keep trying,
Go collect.
do it, but you keep doing it like if they go on a Heat second half with James Johnson kind of run. No, they can't even do that. They literally have to go 35 and 8. Who's going 35 and 8? The fucking Phillies aren't going. The Dodgers or Yankees aren't going 35 and 8.
No one's going 35 and 8.
No, and that's just a push.
That's the push.
Yeah, like they're not doing that. If they won 20 games,
You know how our luck runs, though, Lubie.
I know. Look, they're going to win some games. Don't get me wrong, because you're
Not many. I don't think they're going to win many.
They're not winning 30-5.
No. They'd be lucky
They
to
won
win
24 all year.
If they win 15 more games, that would be,
Yeah,
I think, an achievement.
They get to
Skip
60
Schumacher should get manager of the year. Unbelievable. All right, so that was the beginning of my night. The realization that I have completely lost any ability to. What would that be?
Decipher reality.
Yeah, I'm almost like I'm in a Donald Trump situation. 1,000%.
That if you
What
listen,
about those crowds? Those crowds.
he was
I
talking.
mean, can you believe these Trumpers are debating whether or not these pictures were photoshopped of Kamala Harris getting off a plane? Get the fuck out of here.
AI is a picture thing. It's not a video thing. Like that's the thing is all the stuff they're throwing at the wall is just dumb. Like their own people are like, dude.
What do they stand for besides the fact that Trump is out of his mind? I mean, where do they? How could people not see? You would think the Republicans, if they had any responsibility whatsoever, would realize that their candidate is the one who's nuts.
Oh yeah, people are
That
pushing.
they may want to, proliferate the same policies or whatever as Trump, and they could be just as crazy. But don't you need to get somebody else out there representing it?
You would think.
That would be my biggest issue with all of these Trumpsters is that not anybody but him, right? I mean, if you had Matt Gaetz running for president, at least you know what you're getting, right?
Shit, I know what Matt gets, but McCarthy,
Marjorie Taylor Greene running for president.
these are loons. But McCarthy, as much as I disagree with him, is not a raving lunatic. Like he actually was trying to do things when he was speaker for the 5 minutes he was speaker, like something of that nature. Whereas a guy that I don't agree with at all, McConnell, but at least they understand the value of America. Like the stuff he was saying, the thing on him with Musk yesterday, after it took an hour to get on his own fucking site, which is weird.
Yes, second time that's happened.
Which is funny because people were out doing streams all over Twitter last night. They were the only one that had trouble getting on for whatever that is. Like he was doing the same shit. He was talking about Kamala on the Time Act. Like, he doesn't talk about anything that makes any sense. Like that's my problem. Vote for whatever you want. Like that was my thing with Biden. He looks and sounded old, but if you listen to what he said, which I get it, no one could but me. What he said made sense. What he said was coherent. He just looks and sounds old, and that's why he tapped out, and I appreciate it, and we're in a much better place now. Trump doesn't just look and sound old. He sounds incoherent. That's my problem with Trump is like the shit he says, if you try to break it down, what the fuck is he saying? Like,
and why is he obsessed with these things? That would be the question. I mean, you have never seen the guy just stand up and say, hey, listen, here's what we're going to do. and go ahead and lay out a very definable plan that you can listen to and say, okay. I mean, whether it was Project 2025 or some other plan that was maybe a little bit more acceptable and not so leaning towards the not even far right, talking about Nazi principles here.
Yeah.
You would say, all right. I mean, there it is. At least he's stating what it is that he's going to do. But this obsession with Kamala and the constant mispronunciation of her name. This is a guy that would be walking away sulking from losing a cheesy rank out fight as a kid.
Oh yeah.
And he'd be one of those guys that if you were a good, I mean, I was fairly decent with my sarcastic, use of the language or whatever. Even as a kid, I was pretty decent in rank out fights. I would hold my own in rank out fights, and you would bury Trump in a rank out fight.
Yeah,
Comes up with the stupid stuff. I mean, little Marco and this and that and all of this bullshit.
Well, then my favorites, then the Dems have finally stood up and were like, all right, fuck it. And they do it back. And the Republicans are calling them bullies.
Oh,
like,
yeah, wow. Can you believe what they're saying?
Years. You bullied them for 8 years. Like you bullied both
It's their whole campaign.
Yeah, it's whatever. Vote however you want. I just don't. What are you voting for right now? Like, I don't understand. What are you voting for? Because but that's the thing is, no one even likes Project 25. Even the people on the right are like, yeah, why are we getting rid of the Department of Education? That doesn't make sense. Why
Who needs education?
IRS?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make fucking sense.
Let everybody be dumb.
Well, they backed away from that. You're right. Like they won't even talk about that because they know it's a disaster. So they don't talk about anything.
Nothing. I mean, you really get nothing.
His military service sucks. The dude was in there for 24 years. First of all, he left fine. He did nothing wrong. And who cares? He was there 24 years.
Like, even if he did leave because he said, wait a minute, man, I ain't going to Iraq. The guy was there for 24 years.
All these people have said, yeah, I left that way. No one made fun of me. Like who in their 40s, when they had kids, a wife, had a full-time job, wants to now go to fucking Iraq if they're a high enough level to get out? Like whatever. We're in a weird place. One side's getting more about policy, getting more to galvanize, more like back in the day. It feels like, and the other side's just going into fucking
they're unglued.
1950. Like
still not, far from over this whole thing.
No,
but,
it's fine. I just don't get what they're doing.
We'll see what happens with that. All right, I wanted to get into this though. All right, so I started a new thing yesterday, Lubie. I managed to get it on the air.
Okay,
which was good. Had a lot of help. Leslie from No Filter helping me out. You know how she is. Always very technical expertise is unchallenged. And it seemed like they were very favorable to the whole idea. I did float the idea of having Loan Shark Tank as one of the segments on the weekly show. But it would take some production to make that happen, wouldn't it, Louie? I mean, we'd have to go into a studio somewhere and at least get something where we could feign the beginning of the show. Then maybe we could do it some other way. I don't know.
You'd want people set up in the same room. I mean, that's what you want. You want 3 people with a body man standing in the corner that just nods, and then you'd want different people. I mean, I don't care about all the other graphics, whatever. You'd
have to have the set, something that looks a little bit like the set.
Where you could have like 3 bookies, 2 strong men, and then a parade of
the pathetic parade of beggars. Yeah. All right. So anyway, I start this thing, and the show's called Bury Your Bookie. I would have gone with my usual license to steal, but I'm dealing with this public company, and the lawyers, the SEC lawyers, were saying, well, you know what, we can't imply that we're in any kind of accordance with people that are going out there purposely trying to steal stuff.
Yeah.
Burying people is okay, but stealing?
No, I don't understand that part, but okay.
You want to bury your bookie? That's okay with the SEC.
They can get the hyperbole with.
You want to give people a license to steal? All of a sudden, you're casting a shadow over the integrity of our operation here. All right. That aside, though, the Bury Your Bookie show began, and so I felt compelled to make a pick yesterday.
Okay.
So I'm not just making a pick. I mean, the first show, you don't want to come up with a loser.
Not really.
How much pressure is on me to come up with a winning game last night?
Yeah.
A ton.
Baseball, which we haven't
baseball could be anything, man.
At all.
I almost gave out the White Sox as my play at plus like 350.
Oh wow, you would look like
against the Yankees. They clobbered the Yankees 12-2. I was looking at that game and thinking, here are the White Sox who have won one of their last 25. just finished up an historic losing streak. Just fired their coaching staff. I guess they fired a manager. I don't know if they kept the coaches around. Wouldn't make much difference. They're pathetic. They're challenging the ineptitude of my favorite team of all time, the 1962 New York Mets, who went 40 and 120. And they have a ways to go to even eclipse that. Do they not, Louie? I think they have like 28 wins, something.
29 wins, 29.
Wow. All right. So they'll probably go past 40, but not necessarily an easy ride for that.
Oh, no.
Because they're playing at like a 270 clip, so some ridiculous number like that. A low that we never thought we would see, well below the Mendoza line for lousy teams.
Yep.
So I thought about that, but then I thought, well, geez, you're going to look like a bozo when you can't pick the Yankees, which fortunately I didn't because I'd really look stupid then.
Yeah, you got it wrong.
So I'm looking for a game, that makes some sense, and I come up with the Houston Astros at minus 120. You're only laying 120 to win 100 on the road against the Tampa Bay Rays. The Astros are pitching Framber Valdez, who's been outstanding. In fact, the Astros, I didn't even realize this when I made the selection, because I was sitting on the throne thinking, what the fuck can I do? I mean, throwing darts. Because now it's not just the game. I mean, people probably wouldn't remember the game, but if you go on the air the first day with a show called Bury Your Booking and you pick a loser, I mean, how stupid do you look?
It's not the dream, yes. It's not the greatest start.
I don't mind if we have people on the show and they pick losers, but I mean, this is my reputation at stake here as a guy that's, is it somewhat of a braggadocio thing that you're coming on a show and saying, I'm going to help you bury your bookie? I mean, do I really look like the kind of guy that's accomplished that in my lifetime? No, I've been buried by bookies my entire life.
Honestly.
So I tune in the game. I get the game on Bally Sports something and Sun, or I guess it's Bally Sports Sun.
Okay.
So now I'm watching a replay of the Marlins game, thinking it's a live game, and I tune in this game, and sure enough, I got Framber Valdez going against the Rays. The Rays have pretty much traded off most of their major league quality players. Rosarina is not with the team anymore. They traded a couple of other guys. It wasn't quite as bad as the Marlins unloading everybody, but and you trust the Rays in this spot because
they're 500. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They're 500. They're still only a few games back of the Red Sox for the middle of their division.
Incredible. How the hell are they doing it? Because if you look, is this something that I've just lost track of, Lubie? Because and I'm living in the Stone Age. You know me and my batting averages.
Mm-hmm. Oh God.
But it's remarkable to me, the number of guys, and I always hope that they superimpose, put a super up there of the guy's average and leave it up there while he's at bat.
Yeah,
what his batting and hitting statistics are, because I kind of like to glance at that and say, oh, look at this, man. The guy's got 7 home runs. He's hitting 256. Yeah. So it helps you maybe assess what the chances are of this guy coming through in this spot. I mean, if you got a 116 hitter up there with no power whatsoever and he needs to hit a 3-run home run with 2 away in the 9th, pretty good shot it's not happening, right? So It gives you a level of comfort if you have money on the game that this Punch and Judy guy may as well be Bud Harrelson. It's like, it's not happening, right? You can tell maybe by the stats. Every now and then, you get a surprise, you get an aberration. But it amazes me, both the games that I'm watching. Now, it was yesterday's or 2 days ago's Marlins game and the Rays game against the Astros. The Rays batting averages are abysmal, Lubie. I mean, Mario Mendoza really would be a Hall of Famer by the standards of the day. Have you noticed? I mean, do you notice that if you're watching a baseball game, you're looking and seeing how many guys are hitting not just 200, but under 200 with a significant enough number of at-bats to make you think, yeah, this guy just can't fucking hit. It's incredible.
It's so weird to me that it matters so little. I get what matters now. The analytics show home runs, getting on base, are what matters. Stolen bases could lead to an out, so it's a bad percentage. And strikeouts don't really matter that much because it's only you getting an out, I guess. I can almost sort of understand that stuff, but it's still the fact that like you hitting 180 should mean you suck. Like I don't like how does somehow you hitting 195 but you're borderline off? Like I don't. It's weird that the math works out to me.
Like, it's one thing if you're Schwarber. I guess he's kind of a fluke in that category because he strikes out a lot. See, I don't believe that striking out a lot is okay, and you should shrug your shoulders at it because what happened to the idea of making productive outs?
That's a waste of an out to me. I always thought it was a waste of an at-bat. You did nothing with that at-bat. Nothing.
Yeah, you lead off, you strike out, okay, maybe it's not as damaging, but guys that are striking out with men on base, That should not be as excusable and acceptable as it's become. Now we know that the pitching has become even more dastardly than it's ever been in the past. I mean, a guy's bringing in at 92 miles an hour, and he looks like Randy Jones out there. He looks like his fastball couldn't break an egg.
Well, and they play 5 different pitchers too. So that's the other part of it is you can't get a read on any of the pitchers because they're pitching like 4 or 5 guys. It's just weird. Like I don't understand how they think this is a good product. I understand that this is where we are now. It's just weird.
It's boring. It really is.
You always used to say, at least put it in play. You never know,
Yes.
right? Guy has to make a play in the field. Either you get to see a good play or you're forcing their hand, especially with runners on. Guys are moving. There's a lot going on. You always want to make them have to do something. A strikeout.
Put pressure on. Yes.
You were always like, you literally would, if you were the one that struck out, you didn't look anyone in the eye. Like you just put your head fucking.
I couldn't stand striking out. I really couldn't. I felt like an abysmal failure.
It's the worst.
Especially looking. I mean, on a bad call, that's one thing. Nothing you can do about it. The ball's 3 feet inside. And like, what the fuck? You have an agenda here, umpire? So I'm watching this game, and the reason I bring it up is because I gave the pick out of the Houston Astros. So first inning, you got Bregman at the plate, and I did want to say this in terms of the Marlins and batting average, because it was a pleasure. I thought, wow, having Louis Arise here was like a gift, wasn't it?
Yeah, we didn't realize.
To watch this guy hit like he was a second coming of Rod Carew. He's not going to hit a ton of homers, maybe get you 10, 12 home runs for the year, but you don't care because everything he hits is just a true, pure, slashing line drive, hard hit somewhere in the gaps, all fields.
Yep.
2 strikes. He's not going to be an easy strikeout victim. It was a pleasure to watch this guy hit it. It really was. He showed up in town with the Padres now after being traded early in the season, and I thought, wow, we were very fortunate to have a guy like that here, even for the short time that he was here. And he accomplished a lot while he was here.
Yep.
Leads the league in hitting. It's incredible. Now, I enjoy that type of hitter. I really do. The guy doesn't have to be some big masher. Just every time you see the guy take a swing at the ball, it's just pure. And it's going somewhere. It's going in the gap. The guy's going to have a shot to get a base hit. You're going to have to run it down and make a pretty good play against him to keep him off the base pass. That's nice to see. Altuve is a little bit of that type of player. Altuve, surprisingly, leading off for Houston last night. So Bregman gets up there, hits a home run in the first inning, and I thought I was home free. I leaped off the couch, Lubie, and I was cheering us on. And you know how it goes. I mean, if you have money on a game, it's one thing.
You make a pick, you feel like a jerk.
Every pitch is just absolute, the highest magnitude of importance. Every call, every at-bat, every situation, and it just amplifies everything that's happening in the ballgame. And then, fortunately, they broke it open pretty early. I mean, I really cruised to the wire in this one because when your reputation is at stake, Libby, and maybe the entire future of a show.
Exactly.
That was just launched yesterday. How do you face your audience on the second day and say, the name of the show is Bury Your Bookie, and I'm sorry, but I helped you bury yourself yesterday. Rays 5, Astros. No, it turned out great. 6-1, easy win, cruise to the wire. They even used a reliever for 2 innings to close out the ballgame, the Astros. That's how confident they were that the Rays, with a bunch of 160 hitters, weren't going to do squat. So that turned out well, Libby. Do I take a shot with the Nationals tonight against the Orioles? What would you do in that spot? I'm thinking about giving that out as my game tonight. Nationals on the road, plus 145 against the Orioles for the simple reason, Lubie, that the Orioles will throw out on the mound Trevor Rogers, the former Marlin.
Oh, really? Oh, geez. Good for you. That's good scouting.
Well, he's 2-10 on the year. Maybe it's not such great scouting because on the surface, and the last time I saw him, he made his Orioles debut. I guess he's pitched since then. But in his Orioles debut, he got shelled.
Yep.
And he had that look on his face like one of the zombies in the Night of the Living Dead. That shell-shocked Marlin pitcher starter look.
Yes. I know it well. Your boy, what the fuck? Now I forget his name. Mr. Cy Young.
Urania.
That was my favorite when you just talked to Mike Hill. And
Oh, my God.
like, yeah, we'll see. You're like, no, look at him. That guy's a horse. That guy.
He started opening day, gave up a home run on the first pitch.
Well, I was there for the opening day. I remember
Oh yeah, you were there.
And I remember texting you, so much for your son.
Oh my God.
It was like a grand slam.
He loved me too for even considering that he was a Cy Young candidate, and we had no communication other than it was Jose Urena, right? Jose was his first name. So he's going out to the field there. We're sitting there in the darkness doing one of our shill job radio shows for the Marlins season upcoming. Boy, I tell you what, there's reason to be optimistic.
100%. Yep.
Yeah, fuck you, DeForest and Lubie. I hope you crash your car somewhere before Jensen Beach or wherever the fuck we were. Jupiter. Anyway, and I see Urena running, and I go, Urena. And Lubie's looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing for? I go, Cy Young. Cy Young.
All about it.
Did he not look back and acknowledge that he thought that was a possibility?
He was the opening day starter. We had hope. He actually was supposed to be a guy that was going to have a great year. And then, like, the first pitch went
First
right
pitch
out.
was bombed, yeah. I mean, it's rattling around on the Flagler Railroad tracks.
So, yeah, I don't know if that speaks so great for your Trevor Rogers anti-play, but he's been a disaster for a while now. I mean, I don't think that's the worst idea.
It came back a little bit in a no decision after that start. But right now, his American League earned run average is over 10.
He's rough.
I mean, that's inflated, obviously, by the horrendous. I think he went like an inning and a third or something in his first start for the Orioles. They had just acquired him, thinking they were going to shore up their pitching staff. Big run for the race. I mean, they're on top of the AL East, even with the Yankees playing some good ball. And sure enough, I mean, he gets shelled. Is it worth a play, or do I just go ahead and tell the people, hey, listen, I got nothing for you today?
No, you can't do that.
And then start bringing in handicappers.
I mean, you definitely should bring in handicappers, so that way when they're wrong, it's on them.
Yeah, I don't want to look like an asshole the whole season. Yeah.
But, I mean, day two, you need to do something. I like your scouting. I think that is what most handicappers are doing, right? Okay, who is this team playing? What is this guy doing?
If you're going to take, and the Nationals, who are like 10 games under 500, actually have a guy named Jake Ivey pitching who isn't half bad. Jake Irvin. 8-10 on the year, but a 3.76 earned run average. Doesn't walk a lot of people. Pretty good control. Could he possibly keep the Orioles at bay while Rogers gets shelled? We'll find out. All right, Scoop Skolnick going to join us. Always a pleasure. Scoop Skolnick with a lot of different things to talk about. And I would imagine Scoop was at that Dolphin preseason game, no?
Knowing him, even though he focused lots on the Heat, he has covered the Dolphins. His site is great with the Dolphins. And
5 Reasons Sports Network.
Especially since it's down, the game was down here. It makes sense. He likes to get out there. He was doing Panther stuff,
Yeah.
when they were relevant. I don't see why. It was the first preseason game, I don't see why he wouldn't have been out there.
Scoop is the guy. I mean, he's the number one guy. He started this thing. So, and I respect the fact that he goes out and covers all the big events.
Shit, yeah.
Would you want to be schlepping all of this shit, Lubie?
I don't go to any.
Nice to sit here and talk about it.
I haven't covered something in, I'm trying to think. When was the last? I thought about that the other day. It's like, when did I go to something in coverage?
I don't care if I ever do again. That's
I don't remember. I don't remember. It's just so, you get something because it means you're focused. The only thing you get differently is when you're there, you focus on the game entirely because you're there.
I think you pick up a lot of things that you wouldn't otherwise.
I mean, it's cool when you get to go because a lot of time I would leave right after. I wouldn't go to the locker room. Like, if you go to the locker room, you talk to people, you do get a sense of the team. You do get a sense of the camaraderie. Like, I actually do feel like you do get something. But I'm saying, when I would go there, go to the game, leave at the third quarter, like, you only get so much from it. I mean,
I believe you see more if you're there, no doubt. You see things that aren't necessarily in the focus of the camera. And you get a different feel for it. That there's definitely a vibe involved. And I don't know. I always thought post-game locker room coverage was overrated. That the intensity with which people pursued these quotes wasn't matched by the importance of what was being said.
What they say is stupid. I never took anything. Like, Winderman would always get right in the middle, and
Winderman's firing questions.
And they get really into it. And even in my early days, I was always like, what are they freaking out about? They're saying nothing. Just
nothing.
The idea of being there. A lot of the time you'll see who's hanging out with who. You'll see who's cool with who. You'll get the vibe of the team. That's really the only thing I take from, like, being around. I like being around a team just to see how they interact, to see, because a lot of the time you can see who's leading, who's not, how they lead. Like, those are the things. and being there. When you're there, like, you are focused on the game. You can see the whole court, the whole field. But
see what's happening away from the ball or whatever, the puck. Makes a difference. All right, we want to get to Scoop Skolick. He's hanging on. So we're going to come right back with Scoop Skolick in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:35. Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
these days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Were you a member of the Corleone family? Did you serve under Capo regime, under Vito Corleone, also known as the Godfather?
I never knew no Godfather.
Mr. Pentangeli, you are contradicting a sworn statement you previously made to me and signed. I ask you again, sir, here and now under oath, were you at any time a member of a crime organization headed by Michael Corleone?
I don't know nothing about that. Oh, I was in the olive oil business with his father, but that was a long time ago, that's all.
We have a sworn affidavit. We have it. Your sworn affidavit that you murdered on the orders of Michael Corleone. Do you deny this confession?
Look, the FBI guys, they promised me a deal. So I made up a lot of stuff about Michael Corleone, because that's what they wanted. But it was all lies. Everything. And I kept saying, Michael Corleone did this, and Michael Corleone did that. So I said, yeah, sure.
It's now time for the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. I don't see Mike Lubie anywhere, and I'm hoping that we have Scoop Skolick with us here on the program.
Working
Lubie,
on it.
are you okay?
Yeah, just working on it. He has to do phone, but his phone reception's not great, so we're trying to. I'm efforting, a word you hate in this business, to figure out another
Attempting would be probably a better word, no?
thing.
Yeah.
A way of getting him on, because I definitely want to talk to him. There's a lot going on in the world of sports that I know he's involved in. So I'm sending him the link, and he's going to join us on screen without video. Is what we're going to.
Dare we bring it up, Lubie? I mean, before we even get going with Scoop Skolick, once we connect with the Scoop, dare we bring it up? The possibility that Dave Hyde raised of Ryan Tannehill possibly coming.
You should bring it up. Look, it's funny. Anyone
to
who
save
watched
the day
or listened to us over the years knows my sentiments on one.
Oh, you hated Tannehill as a starting quarterback.
I despise him, but I also admitted what he was.
It was almost cruel. I mean, the amount of venom that you spewed about Tannehill. And did you ever, and then you had to face him. That's right, at that thing at Dick's Sporting Goods. And all of a sudden, you literally, we're giving, fellatio to this guy.
It wasn't exactly.
Oh, Ryan, you've been so great. The criticism is so unfair. Oh, my God. There was a few $100 involved, an appearance fee.
$500. I was like his biggest fan for that Saturday.
Yeah, that was great, man. Yeah, I was doing something somewhere. You were making a nickel. Those were the days. Right? Just to show up there and give out a couple of kazoos while Ryan Tannehill was signing autographs.
However, I do feel, I always felt, and it had never changed, and he sort of proved me right, where he was a competent starting quarterback, but he wasn't going to win you games. That is what you need in a backup, though. He's not going to steal the thunder from Tua, but if Tua gets hurt, you need someone that can come in and win you games. And Mike White and Skylar Thompson don't feel like those guys.
Wow, that looked bad. I mean, I don't know if that was just due to the slop that might be inherent in a first preseason game when you're playing backups essentially anyway, all the way around, or if that was really an alarming example of how bad it's going to be if Tua, which is very possible, obviously, for any quarterback. But if Tua gets hurt, does Trevor Lawrence need a haircut? I mean, what's up with that, by the way? Come on, kid. What the fuck are we talking about? That's crazy, isn't it? I mean, all of this money, all of this fabulous moolah, and it's not a particularly good look for the guy. Wouldn't he surprise people? I'm not saying that he has to go ahead and do what Joe Burrow did and suddenly look like Pete Davidson, this quarterback in the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, never mind all this hair talk. Let's get into something that actually has some relevance to the sporting world, and that's why we bring on a guy that really, is synonymous with credibility, and that would be Ethan Skolick, 5 Reasons Sports Network. Scoop, how are you, my friend?
Synonymous with credibility, man.
Yes.
I think you should workshop that one. I'm not.
No, I figure if you're at the event, Scoop, we're going to get an honest count on this thing. And with a good opinion that whether 100% agreement or not is always a well thought out position. I find that every time that we talk to you, you're in that category. So it's always great. That being said,
yes.
And you are the big kahuna there at 5 Reasons, and we respect the fact that you go and cover all of the big events. Where are you at this Dolphins preseason game, and did you have to sit through it in its entirety?
I was actually, and yes, I did.
Oh Jesus!
So I apologize for that to myself.
Why are we knocking it? I mean, what did you think, man? I mean, do we need Ryan Tannehill? What's the story?
Oh God, that's actually what we did on the on the YouTube channel yesterday. I felt insanely guilty about doing that too. I mean, we did that for 7 years, and now we're doing it.
Lubie hated this guy forever.
I mean, it's like seriously, that was like a dog year we did that for, and now we're back at it. Honestly, it's after watching that, it's not the worst idea. I don't know. I mean, look, here's my thing on, and I said this on our stream yesterday with our friend Alex Dono. They're all in this year. Like they they signed Tua to the contract extension. They still haven't won this damn division since 2008, or would they win in 16? I guess
whatever the Pennington year was.
God.
Oh wait, they have to win the division this year. They have to win a playoff game this year. Like this is, I mean, there can't be any excuses at this point. I mean, they even got Phillips back yesterday. Like they've added significant pieces. They've given Hill the extension. And so you don't want your season to be sunk by one of two things, okay? Because these are two positions where it's like you don't really think about them until they sink the season. One is kicker, which I still have concerns there.
Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like it's almost the worst thing that he kind of redeemed himself at the end of last year, because now it's like you go into another year of like, oh wait, is this going to be a year where he doesn't hit a 50-yard field goal the whole time? Or excuse me, and the other position is backup quarterback. Yeah. Because I look at another year they were all in. Okay. So go back to 2002, right?
I remember, was that the last time?
well, no, the last time
we were young, Scoop. We had hair.
We were, and they won the playoff game in 2000, but in 2002, if you recall, they traded for Ricky.
Yeah, that was Ricky.
He had 1,853 yards. Jason had 18.5 sacks. We were in Denver. and they went to 5-1. They were named. They were sort of considered to be the best team in the AFC. They won. They beat a good Denver team on the road, 24-22. Late Mare field goal, and then we go downstairs and and to the locker room, and Chambers is getting checked out for a concussion, and Gadsden hurt his thumb, and Jay got hurt, and that sunk the whole thing. Like they, then Ray Lucas came in and had committed 6 turnovers in a home game in Buffalo.
Wow.
I hate to bring back all these memories, but it's
the fact that you can recall some of this horror.
Colonel
Kurtz didn't recall horror like this.
Your face.
Yeah, in about 2 years, I won't be able to recall anything. But yeah. So essentially, they lose 24-22, and then they win 24-22, but then they lose 3 key players, including the quarterback, and then they go 2-4 with Lucas, and it killed the season because then they got to 9-5. Jay came back, and then they lost. Chris Carter dropped the ball in the end zone, and then I was at all these games, and then in New England they screwed the pooch the last 2-3 minutes and lost there. Anyway, the point is, you cannot have if Tua misses time. Okay, and you have to assume he's going to miss time because last year was the anomaly. I mean, he played every game. I don't care if it's Tua or who it is. Very few quarterbacks play every game 2 straight seasons. Okay, so you can't have like a 3 or 4 game spot where you lose all of them. Like you or you go 1-3 or you go 2-4 or whatever. I would honestly, Case Keenum, Tannehill, I'd look at somebody. They got to have somebody because I don't think Thompson's an NFL quarterback. So make Mike White your 3rd and go get somebody else.
Mike White didn't look like he was going to, make anybody forget about the days with Danny Boy. That's for sure.
No.
While he was in there, I mean, maybe you could attribute it to the slop that's inherent, as we were talking about, in any opening preseason game, especially now where. I mean, do you attend these practices, Scoop? Or I would imagine you would want to delegate that assignment to.
Well, yeah, no, that is the one thing I do delegate in my old age. I don't want to kvetch about the sweating. It's a little too hot out there for me to delegate.
It sucks. Yeah.
I send Alfredo Arteaga from 3 yards per carry, and he loves it. Like literally,
these guys like it.
They would practice 24/7, like in Antarctica. Well, not that there would be cold, but. In the heart of Africa, he would be there.
Yes, I love that. I mean, the young guys, that's who it's for. This stuff. I mean, and no doubt about it. I'm glad you're training these kids in journalistic principles and tenets. I mean, you go out there and now they don't do anything. I mean, they didn't do anything before.
Yeah.
We were talking about how there used to be 3-a-days. I was talking with with the Greek on his radio show yesterday, 3-a-days, and I remember covering those at St. Thomas with Shula.
Yep.
And now, what are they doing? I mean, you'll have guys crocheting out there on the field, and as soon as they break out the needle, the guy's on the phone with his agent going, "What the fuck? This is in violation of the CBA." I mean, and then I'm watching a lot of guys. It seemed like, I mean, maybe it was just you say this every time you watch a football game. Was there an inordinate number of injuries? Early in that game? I mean, is this new whole approach detrimental in your opinion?
Well, it's interesting you say that because we talk about this on the NBA side all the time. That team, the new philosophy, a lot of it is agent based. Some of it is this sports science. Some of it is, there's a lot of things that go into it. But essentially, yes, the players are babied compared to the way they used to be. And now, we talk about it in the NBA a lot, and there are some, I can tell you, in the Heat organization who think that, and they're not just talking about Spo because it's really a league-wide thing, but like the pulling back on practices, length of time, effort given, physicality, that's actually leading to more injuries because then the players go from 0 to 100 in the games and they get hurt. And it's like this consistent thing. And I can't really tell if it's just a South Florida thing or everywhere else, but it does seem like the Heat and Dolphins are always missing players. Right.
Yeah.
Like both of them. I mean, the Marlins, they're missing players because they've been shipped out to Seattle. But I mean, those two teams, like the players are actually still under contract and they're there. I don't feel like, and Lubie, I know you follow it too. I don't feel like the Panthers had as much of that issue.
Not this year.
Not this year, right? Not this year.
Oh, that was their big thing. And again, it's something we talked to other people about is how do you get guys to not be injured all the time?
Right.
That seems to be the case for both teams. Like the Heat, I feel like the last 3 or 4 years, I keep saying, well, if this guy wasn't hurt, but
Right.
it's the same for 4 friggin' years. And the Dolphins, it's the same thing. The offensive and defensive line by December, the last 3 years, they're hurt. I don't know what it is. But a lot of the time, a lot of old school people will tell you they don't practice as hard. Like as much as it was trying to save you from injuries, it's the opposite, because what happens is the body's just not prepared for the contact.
Right.
And then it faces both sports. It faces the contact. And then like, that's the thing. That's what I find so weird about the game management, because the guys that are being game managed still get hurt most of the time.
Right. And well, exactly. Well, and this is my, to switch to the baseball conversation. It's interesting. Every pitcher who's been babied in terms of pitch counts has ended up with Tommy John surgery.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, again, and there are a lot smarter people than me in these fields that seem to know why they're doing it this way in all these sports. But what's interesting on the Heat side is that, again, Spo's a Riley disciple, and Pat's right there, and yet, Pat has signed off on this essentially. I mean, the Heat don't practice very much anymore. Like I used to sit outside, like we talk about being at St. Thomas. Okay, so I was never there, to cover Dolphin stuff, but I was at LaSalle to cover Heat practices back in the late '90s. Okay?
Yeah.
Basically, they would kick the 6-year-olds out of recess. Practice.
You had to kick somebody off the other end of the court, right? So you could run full.
We could sit outside. And there was this one day, I always tell this story because I had a one-on-one set up with PJ Brown. We were supposed to go to lunch. Okay, so it was like there was like a 10 o'clock practice, and so they were supposed to be done by like 11:30 or 12. Okay, so at 11:30, we're looking. Tim Donovan, of course, was still there at that point. He's been there the whole time. And TV comes out. It's like it's going to be a little longer. Okay, so all right, we'll order a pizza. We ordered 3 pizzas. we were there until 5:30. Okay.
Wow.
And the reason for it was because they'd lost a national televised game to the Knicks. All right. So Pat wasn't having that shit. So and I found out later, not only were we hearing the basketballs the whole time, which means that there was actual physical stuff going on, but at one point, Pat had Rex Walters go to, because they had like a TV that they would bring out to show the tape of the game. And he had Rex Walters out there showing Tim Hardaway what he did wrong.
Wow.
like he taxed them emotionally, physically, all these other ways. I remember PJ came out and was like, I will do this another day. I'm saying, yeah, well, lunch just became dinner and we had 3 pizzas. But the thing is, yeah, that's the way it was. And now the Heat organization, it's like, I think they had, some of it is to avoid the media, but I think they had, because if they practice, technically they got to be available. But I think they had 1 practice the first half of the season.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, it's just, and again, we convert it to the NFL. I mean, the NFL, they're playing, 7-on-7, no contact, no nothing, don't hit anybody. And I do think at a certain point that Lubie's right. I think that then you go to a totally different physical type situation and all these guys get hurt. I mean, I don't want to hear, I'm past the point where it's like, well, if they hadn't gotten hurt, they could have been this or they could have been that. If players on your team are consistently getting hurt, it's part of the organizational culture at that point, right? I mean, that's the way I view it.
Well, before we let you go, we didn't want to bring up something. You brought up the Heat. I know the last couple of games, he wasn't as effective with the Olympics, but I was very intrigued to see that Bam. And a lot of people were saying, so it's Spo. And it was like, is it Spo? Like, Spo's great at helping all these guys get better. Why is he holding back Bam? Like, the guy we saw, and I get it, the first half of the seasons, we've seen a more aggressive Bam, and then the All-Star break comes, and he's tired or whatever the excuses are. But even then, until the last 2 games, and again, everyone but Steph sucked the last 2 games. It wasn't just a Bam problem. Steph literally became Steph from 2014 to 2018, and everyone back to high school, the way that they played. So it wasn't just Bam. The 4 games before that, Bam was as consistent as anyone, and he was doing it on both ends of the floor. And I'm watching it going, so are we going to get this Bam finally? You're around them. You watch the Olympic Games. I saw you guys covering it and talking about it, and specifically Bam. What were we watching there, and why don't we see more of that when he's in black and red?
I actually think we will this year. I specifically because he just did that. I feel like
he made like 3 or 4 threes in a game. Like
no,
literally,
well,
LeBron was calling him a goddamn splash brother.
No, but the threes are one thing. Like the threes is a specific skill set that I think they have to build a little bit more into their offense. So I think the fact that Spo was there to see it and open things up, I do think that he will get more of a green light this year. I do believe that's finally going to happen. There are other things that I want to see from Bam to me that are more important, but I do think that that's gonna happen. But I think the biggest thing that's gonna come out of this is, I mean, literally, like LeBron, all of them, they embraced Bam as an equal.
Yes.
And I don't know that he's ever really felt that before, particularly from the best players of all time. Some of the best players of all time, Steph and LeBron and Durant. And I think that will translate. And I think that the biggest thing that's going to happen too is I think as a captain in this, he hated being captain last year. He kind of hinted it to me publicly, but I'd heard it privately. He just didn't, and I knew he would because it's just not his personality to come down on guys. He's, but I feel like this year he'll grow into that more because he saw it, and also because again he's been validated by these guys. Some of this is on Spo to build more of the offense around him. And some of this I think is on personnel to help him. Look, can Rozier throw the kind of lobs that Curry was throwing him? Others, I mean, they have to find more ways to feature him. And you made the big point here. The pre-All-Star break stuff the past couple of years has been good. It's this last year he averaged fewer shot attempts in every succeeding month. So his shot attempts went down from October to November to December to January to February to March to April. Every month they went down. That is because they asked him to do so much defensively, but also because he just kind of concedes.
Yep.
This year he can't concede. Like they don't have enough unless he grows significantly. That's my view because I just don't like they're counting on like contract year Jimmy to go nuclear, and I'm 50-50 on that. We may be having the same availability questions. I know Bam's going to play. Okay. And so you're right. I think he has to play with more force, more of what we saw in the Olympics, but he belonged on that team. And so if he belonged on that team, he's ready to lead this team. And I think that we may see a little bit more of that this year.
All right. One quick final thought, if you don't mind, Scoop. I know you have stuff to do, but I couldn't help but, try and at least get your opinion on this. Grew up. I love half-court basketball. If I was driving somewhere, I didn't even care if I was out of town. I saw a game. I wanted to be in it. I'd stop the car and see if I could. Hey, can I run with you guys? Love it. 3-on-3, 4-on-4. I contend that you could go to the outskirts of any major city in America. You could be in Compton, California. You could be somewhere on the streets of Harlem, Flatbush, maybe outside of Philadelphia, certainly Chicago. And see a team that was holding the court in 3-on-3 basketball that would beat Jimmer Fredette, whatever version of the Barrys that was, and whoever these two other schmucks were that were on the team. I mean, what the hell was that, Scoop? How could we possibly lose at this game? It seems unfathomable to me that our 3-on-3 team was that bad.
We should have entered Jimmer in the breakdancing competition.
I mean, when he was chucking 50-footers for BYU in the tournament, that's great if it was that Jimmer Fredette. But, I mean, the guy's not the same. And, that was the best 3-on-3 team. I mean, you've probably played against better 3-on-3 teams in your babasketball lifetime.
At the Cooper City JCC.
Yeah. I mean, the Posnack Jewish Center, man. Those boys could shoot.
Exactly right. Look, I don't really know what that was. I kind of feel like first thing, I don't understand why they wouldn't just send like a representative from the Big Three, like from Ice Cube's league.
Yeah.
I mean, I throw Beasley. Who's been in that thing? Beasley.
Give me Carmelo. I mean, I don't know. Is Iverson still playing at 60? I'm not sure.
Honestly, got 3 cups.
If Doug Moe hadn't checked out, he'd be in the league.
For sure. Look, I don't really know what that was. I don't. The whole qualifying of that was kind of ridiculous. But yeah, it was embarrassing. I mean, I was trying to figure out, like, again, who we could have sent a bunch of guys who didn't make our Olympic team. I mean, that would have been.
I think there was some stipulation that you couldn't play.
You couldn't have
currently be a pro or something. Or
no, you couldn't be connected to Team USA in any way. Like you couldn't.
Yeah, some kind of crap like that. Yeah.
Like they made it really weird. So to make sure the USA didn't dominate, but even then, you still should be able to find guys.
Don't you go down to Rucker Park or something and just take 3 guys?
Well, the Rucker Park would be exactly where I would go. I mean, you could have taken 3 guys from those mixtapes. I mean, any of it. I really, Jimmer Fredette being on there is the most random thing I could possibly.
It was crazy, right? You're looking. Wait a minute, I know this guy.
Right, exactly. Like, this
20 years ago.
And to go all the way to Paris to embarrass yourself, kind of sad.
Oh my God!
Yeah, very, very depressing. But yeah, I thought actually the Olympics. This was as good an Olympics as
it was very entertaining all the way around. No doubt
entertaining, and I actually thought that the TV it was well done this time.
Yes,
they did. I'm used to complaining about this stuff, but there was really everything was on when you expected it to be on. You could rewatch it. It was good, and I look. I think LA, having it back in LA in 4 years, I'll be interested to see what kind of Team USA can put together for basketball at that point. It'll be. It feels like we're in a little bit of a transition here, and it feels like the next guy actually plays for France. So we'll see.
We should never lose, Scoop. I mean, give me a break. those Serbians look like a bunch of white schleps that were showing up. They show up at the park. You don't even know if you let them run. Jokic notwithstanding. I mean,
Jokic wasn't even the best player.
well, Jokic's happier about winning that bronze than he's been about winning an NBA championship.
Honestly.
You know what? He's with his boys there. And if you've ever seen his brothers in the stands, you realize that they're a serious bunch, those Jokic's. Scoop, we love you, man. Thanks. Always, the epitome of credibility and sound reasoning. Thanks so much for being with us on the show.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Scoop Skolnick, ladies and gentlemen. All right. That's it. That was fun.
That'll do it.
Yeah. All right, Lubie, we'll do it again tomorrow. We'll have Tony Segreto, Texas Roadhouse Restaurants, presenting Tony Segreto, a little old school. That'll be happening tomorrow on the show. And we will see you 1 o'clock today at Taco Craft Coral Springs.
Yes.
Which, what is that, around the corner from your place, Lubie?
It's right by me, thank God. It's the first time in a long time that I haven't had to drive an hour and a half to do one of these. It's southern Coral Springs. So it's like Atlantic and University, I think, in that area.
All right. Sounds good. We'll see you out there, man.
Or I'm sorry, it's Sample. It's
Sample and University, I think.
It's south of Sample and University.
All right, excellent. All right, we'll see you there. Lubie, good job. And thanks to Scoop Skolnick for joining us. Always entertaining, Scoop Skolnick. Very, very, he's always, to rattle off that shit about the Dolphins, wasn't that great?
Yeah, it was like a coach.
Man.
Remember
that was like from the 2002 campaign. Well, then we shit the bed and against the Patriots. I'm like, what? Who remembers that? What do you think? You think I'm envisioning this as you're saying it? I can't remember any of that crap. I can't remember what happened in last week's game. All right, very good, people. Great being with you. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:02.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.